whatever goals that they may have. So on today, I want to share with you from the theme, Dressed Up from the Neck Up, using our 5 senses to leap forward. With this being the organization of L.E.A.P, I wanted to jumpstart the event and incorporate the name, just so it's something that we can relate to, and then it could help us even more to put your next steps in action. And again, my name is Pam James. I am a certified life coach. I am an event planner, a Mary Kay consultant. I kind of wear multiple hats, and I also still work full time as well. So a lot going on, and that's where organization, time management, and just good planning helps me to make sure that I'm effective in what it is of what I'm doing. You'll see my shirt that I'm wearing. It's ladies, and the acronym is Lovely, Aspiring, Dedicated, Intelligent, Encouraging Sister. Everything that I touch, everything I do, I want it to exemplify great morals and the values that demonstrate and represent who I am. So that is my brand. I'm excited. The bling shirts are $20. So anyone who would like to take advantage and just put a seed into what I do, it would absolutely be appreciated, even if it's not today. You know, another day is fine as well, but just remember that they are always available. Alrighty, so if you turn to page 2, what I would like for each of you to walk away with today is I want you to understand that how we utilize our 5 senses can be the perception of how others respond, and it could determine how we progress forward. So the key word there is how. For a lot of us, we feel it's really important, that it is, to be skilled and to be trained in whatever it is that's our passion or what we look to pursue. But we also have to remember that just as well as the skill is important, the how you exemplify that skill is, in my opinion, even more important. Because a lot of people can probably do that same type of task, but the way you go about doing that task may look completely different from anyone else and how they may do it, which will then draw a different type and even a different volume of people that will be able to be attracted to whatever it is that you're looking to get people to join on board or support you on. So let's just stop there just for a moment. Can someone just take a moment and just share, what do you find that people think of when they say perception? What do you think of? What does that mean to you, the perception?
Their point of view.
Absolutely, their point of view. And also, moving forward, just as you're looking to move forward, how do you think that you can enhance your perception of how others see you? How do you feel you can enhance that, the overall perception of others as you're looking to move forward?
Well, you just said one key word, being more organized. I'm talking for myself. That would probably be a good thing that people would notice. That would help me to get farther ahead.
Absolutely. Organization is so important. It makes a big difference. It could sometimes make or break that opportunity or that door opening up. So you're absolutely correct, and that's where I really wanted to hone in on the how. So throughout the rest of the presentation, I want you to begin to look at yourself in the things that we're going to talk about, because the how factor is going to really be important whenever we walk out and whenever we're ready to leap forward. Okay? All right. And if we go ahead and turn to page 3. So as a young girl in school, they have always talked to us about the 5 senses. Who would like to share what the 5 senses are? Go ahead.
Sight, hearing, feeling, tasting. I forgot the last one. Smelling. Yes.
There you go. And let's begin to talk about, as we were young and this was introduced to us, what was important about those senses? So if we look at smell, what's important about smell?
It was just good from bad. Like, if you smell something bad, you want to stay away from it.
It could determine your next step, absolutely. But whenever, as a child, whenever we were taught smell, it was around our nose. So everything was around the nose, the smell, the aroma. All right, what's the next one?
Hearing.
Hearing. And with the hearing, of course, that directly associates with what?
Ear.
The ear. All right, our listening. Very, very important. And what's the next one?
Feeling.
Feeling or touch. And that's with our hands, or we can use other body parts. Exactly. Okay, what's another one?
Tasting.
Taste. So that's all around our mouth. What does it taste like? What comes out whenever we speak? And what's the last one?
Smelling.
Smell is the first one.
Also sight.
Sight. And the first thing, of course, that we correlate to that will be our eyes. Very, very important. Because sometimes our eyes can be laser focused and see just what it is. And sometimes our eyes can see what we want it to be. So, again, as we're growing up and in school, we hear about these 5 senses and what's important about these 5 senses. Now, I want you to get in your mindset, now that we are older, now that we are more mature, what can be a contributor in impacting our 5 senses? What can trigger or cause some type of impact from our senses?
Our state of mind, like how we're feeling, like emotions.
Absolutely. Your emotions, that can impact what sense? Which one of the senses you would associate that with?
I feel like sight and also feeling, and also hearing.
It could be more than one. You're absolutely correct. How about work-life balance? Is that one? If we don't have a good grasp on keeping a balance in our life, what sense can we throw off if we don't have a well-balanced work life?
Could be our hearing. Yeah, a combination of all of them.
It absolutely can be. Absolutely. So I wanted you to look at beginning when we were younger, and now as we come into adulthood, then how we use the 5 senses in a different way, and where we see more the importance of us interacting with one another and interacting with others, and also we're ready to leap out into the community and do a lot of different tasks. So we definitely want to be able to understand how important and how critical it is in our senses. And as women, we love to dress up when we're going to an event, an engagement, some type of wedding, some type of special event. And now let's go back to those senses. Whenever we want to dress all up, we dress our eyes up nice and pretty, don't we? We put on mascara, we put on eyeshadow, eyeliner. So that's one way we dress up our eyes. With our nose, we take our little sponge and we pat and make sure that our nose is not oily. We put foundation on there or some type of pressed powder just so that it blends in with the rest of our skin. Some put an earring in their nose, so that's dressing up the nose. And when it comes to our mouth, you can also put piercings there as well. And also we put lipstick, lip gloss, lip liner. So we dress all up our mouth And then our ears, oh, we get all cute. We can put multiple earrings in. And one ear may have one earring and the other ear may have 2 or 3. We can get all dolled and pretty with the earrings, right? And don't even start on our touch. Oh my gosh, our rings. We can bling, 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 bling it all up. And we can just, for any way that we want to accessorize, we can do so with the sense of touch. So, I also want to be able to look at, just as we dress up those senses, are we effectively utilizing those senses? So now that we know why our senses are important, let's look at how effective we are using these senses as we interact with others. And then we're also going to go a step farther and say, what could I possibly do with these senses to be more effective? So let's start with the eyes. This is the question time. We're going to have some class participation and some interaction. So with the eyes, let's pose the question of, how do others see me? How do others see me? That is so important as we're going to promote our business, promote L.E.A.P organization. How do people see you as a member? And that's what's important, because we're all individuals, but when we put on our L.E.A.P shirts, we represent the organization. So how will the community see us? Do we look professional? Do we give good eye contact whenever we're talking? And whenever we're sharing what L.E.A.P is all about? Are we focused? So not only what do people see, are we seeing clearly? Do we understand the vision? Do we understand the goals? Do we understand the mission? Before we can even get anyone else to come on board, do we understand? It's not about just piling on 100 people. If it's just people that's not going to be actively volunteering, they're not going to actively come to meetings, they're not going to actively participate, because every individual counts whenever we show up. The next one, nose. What scent will others associate with me? Is it a good fragrance? Is it a fragrance that makes someone may turn up their nose? That's important, because again, we're looking at perception and what others think, and we want to have a sweet aroma. And then of course you get a lot of people now that talk about the types of spices. You know, so whenever you say something or when you do something and when you part, what aroma did you leave? Was it a spicy that was a little too spicy? Was it a sweet, sugary smell? So we want to begin to look at, whenever we left that impression, was it a sweet, sweet smell? Next, the mouth. Uh-oh. What taste do I leave with others? Can someone just share what taste you would like to leave with someone? Absolutely. Powerful taste. Because you want to make sure that what you said, it was something that they remember. Because remember, there's a lot of different organizations, there's a lot of different businesses, so we want to make sure that we stand out in what we're saying, whenever we're talking, whenever we're interacting. Is it clear? Are the thoughts organized? Can they really say, let me go to this website, I want to donate some money because she really impressed me. I think that's something that I would love to plant seed into. That made good sense. I didn't have to probe. You know, it just made good sense. She was prepared, she had paperwork, left me with a phone number that I can call, a website that I can go and view and see what all is going on within L.E.A.P? That's the mouth. What are we saying? How did it come out? How was the tone? Tone goes a long way. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and they either talked so fast till you really just said, okay, all right, I'll get back with you. Because I don't know what was just said. It happens. I know that I've done it before. And if I want to go back and pull it up online and check it out, maybe. But your first impression may have killed it. And that's what we do not want to do. We also want to be careful with sarcasm. Have you ever talked to someone that it was so comical till you couldn't even believe it? You really have to make sure you have a balance of when to smile, when to be serious, when to nod, not constantly nodding, because that's not even normal, but I've seen people do it. And they're constantly with until it's getting faster and faster, no, you know, then it's just, it's not genuine anymore. So you want to make sure that what you're saying, that is clear, it's genuine, and that people really can believe what it is of what you're saying. Ears. What do people normally say? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So that means we should really listen more, a lot of times, than us speaking. Because sometimes we can respond when we really did not effectively hear what was even said to us. So you want to make sure that you understand what's being said. If they're asking questions about what it is that we're doing, what's coming up next, how did this all come about, you know, make sure that you're listening and you understand. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay. This is not saying that you're supposed to know everything, but we can make sure that we know how to get the information and how to make sure we get it back to them as timely as possible. Because again, that could be someone who wants to join L.E.A.P or someone who wants to be a supporter of L.E.A.P, and that could be financially or come out and help volunteer. There are a lot of people that's looking for something good to connect to and to get out and to be effective in the community. So we want to make sure that people understand that we are listening and that it could really be a two-way dialogue. That's an uncomfortable situation when you feel like you're the only one that's talking or you're the only one that's listening, and it's not a two-way dialogue. Okay? So that's on ears. Touch. Touch. Do I create valuable connections? Very critical. I've had to learn, you know, as I've grown in all the different businesses that I'm touching on, that I'm in the right place that makes sense. I used to wear myself out trying to be everywhere. I just want to touch every event. I need to show up. I gotta be visible. And I found that it wasn't the right audience. It wasn't the right setting. It was no bridge in me being there. So with touch, I want to keen in on, it's not necessarily an attribute that we were taught of the senses that may be from the neck up, but they actually interact and touch each other within the face, and also the neck is where I really connected with touch and the connection when I was looking at from the neck up, because the neck is the connection to the rest of our body. It's the connection to our primary location of the rest of our senses, which tells me that the right connections can really fit like a hand in glove. So I really want you to understand, partnering up with the right people, really partnering up with the right events could really and truly be beneficial and important as we are looking to leap forward and to grow in everything of what L.E.A.P is designed to do. And then I have at the bottom, what does that say?
Perception is reality.
Perception is reality. Although people sometimes can get it wrong in our opinion, but the way we come across to people, that is their reality. So sometimes we only get that one shot. And sometimes we get a second chance, but rebuilding can be difficult. It's possible, but it's difficult. That's where we want to make sure that as we are out, as we are growing, as we are interacting, that we are using those 5 senses as effectively as possible to try to avoid some rework. If you say that you're going to call someone back, make sure you have a calendar, you're organized, you're following up. If someone calls and says, hey, I know that you have an event at River City Brewing, what time is it? Make sure you get that information to them, because if they ask, of course they're interested. They want to come, they want to be a part of it. A lot of times we lose great opportunities for the lack of follow-up. I know that I've personally done it. I'm sure that in our journeys, all of us at some point have dropped the ball. And then there are people that when they see you, they will remind you, you didn't call me back. I sent you an email message. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. You sure did. And then you have to try to rebuild from that lack of follow-up. And that builds trust. And trust goes a long way. So the more we can make sure we do not miss those opportunities, the more we can continue to build positive relationships and to have everyone wanting to know, what is L.E.A.P? All righty. Next. Ask yourself a question. Now that we've talked about our senses, we've talked about how we can be more effective and make sure that we're taking a self-examination to make sure we are being effective in utilizing our 5 senses, how can we better brand with our 5 senses? So just listening to some of the things that have been shared already, how can you think, better brand L.E.A.P or better brand yourself? What are some things that you would like to just walk away and say, that's something that I would like to just put a little bit more focus on?
Well, I think, just taking some time to sit back to really think about how you want to come across, what you want to share with others, just taking that time out. And maybe you need to write it down. I mean, I may need to write it down, you know, and then after that, maybe rehearse a little bit. So I guess it goes back to the organize, what you guys were saying, or whatever, just to kind of get it out first and do a little practice if you need to. So I would start with the organization.
And what you were saying too is kind of what I'm going through right now. There's so many things and opportunities out there, and you want to do everything, but you can't do everything. You have to, maybe you have to step out a few times to see, you know, if you should connect, if you can connect, but you have to be willing to say that's where I'm not going, I'm going to stay on this track or whatever. But
Absolutely correct, and it'll help if you go back and revisit the mission statement, go back and revisit the goals. That will really help and guide you that is this something that I want to partake? Is this something that I feel, you know, that will be beneficial? Or sometimes it could just be something where you're not even actively doing anything, but you're a participant. Because I've also had to find events that I can go to just to be developed and where I'm not necessarily doing something. I find that to be refreshing, of where you can actually just sit down and where you're getting good information and not necessarily having to always go to an event and you're up talking or you're up being a vendor. I've had to actually learn that. Again, I was wearing myself out. And then just as much as we're putting out, we have to make sure we're putting as much in, if not more, because we can become too busy, and that self-development is really important. It's going to help keep us focused. The more we're making sure we're applying skills, that's going to help us to continue to go forward. All righty. So now we have an exercise. And I actually did this exercise with my husband last night. And the things that he came up with was really, really, really good. So I want each of you, and I'm going to ask if everyone could please give a response on this one. Looking at this glass, what do you see and what does it represent to you? And I'm going to go ahead and start us off. And if you repeat what someone else says, what someone else see in the glass, that's fine. I see many. There's several things that I could see, but I'm going to go with the first thing that I see. I see, to me, what looks like a piece of ice floating. So whenever I see that piece of ice, that tells me that the ice remained leveled. So regardless of what I go through or whatever I experience, I don't have to hit the bottom. I can still float, even if I'm not sure what my next step is. If I don't have it all planned out, I can still float. Because for me, a lot of distractions happen at seems to be the worst times, right when I'm trying to focus. But when I look at that, that reminds me that regardless of how a situation may look, I can still float. I don't have to sink just because it may not all be lined up right now, just the way that I want it to be. So I'm going to start from the back. And if you could go ahead and just share with everyone, what's one of the things you see about that glass and what does that represent to you?
Because I've learned to look at the glass instead of being half full and half empty, I look at it from the weight of it. That no matter the weight of it,
Yes.
I can still add to it,
Yes.
I can decrease it. But the weight of it is, there was some growth in it.
Let's give her a round of applause. That is excellent. Excellent. Thank you so very much. Okay, Mark.
Well, I can say, well, yeah, I see water. And it's clear that no matter how situations look in my life, I can see, I can go through because it's a clearness.
Yes. Let's give her a round of applause. Good. And being clear is really important because a lot of times we can make big mistakes when things just aren't clear. We can move too fast or we haven't put enough thought in it. So 2 great examples. Thank you both so very much. Okay, we're gonna move on up to you. Please share what you see.
I saw a glass, almost full glass, and most of it was full, but it had a small puncture in it. And I thought it's a lot of good, but if something bad happens, you still can be great and be grateful for what you do have good and all of that.
Wow. How old are you?
14.
Okay. Wow. That is excellent. Wow. Don't tell me kids can't think and plan.
Okay.
And really and truly learn at a young age. That is awesome. Awesome. All right, your sister, what do you see?
I see, the first thing I thought was, usually when you put like ice in a drink, the ice usually melts and like stays and floats inside the drink. It usually mixes together. It shows like you can still stand out despite like how everything's just standing still. You can still find a way to like climb to the top and stay floating to the top instead of like mixing together with the crowd, you know, what everybody else is doing. I don't know why.
That is beautiful. Wow. Tell me your age too, please. 19. Just awesome. teens in here.
Showing us up.
Teens in here, but that means good seed has been planted. Good seed has been planted, and I tell you, I don't know how it's gonna all come together and what the two of the young ladies here are gonna do, but it's gonna be something powerful. It absolutely is. And I'm gonna turn it on over to
I have nothing. Oh, goodness. So what I've seen also, of course, normally we say that is the glass is half full. But to me, that is a drop of water. That's what I see. Instead of, like how water drops in and you see the addition of it coming in. And basically, it's just you're adding to. And for me, that's one thing I've always shared with people. Continue to add to, continue to keep, striving for the best. You never get too old to keep receiving information. Allow different things to keep the positive spirit that's going to allow you to keep growing and growing. And of course, fill it up to the top.
yes,
So.
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I'm just getting chills. I tell you,
Wow.
just beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
A glass of water, to me, what I'm seeing is purified.
Oh,
Purified. We got things in our life that we just have to purify.
yes,
That's what I'm seeing.
absolutely.
Wow.
Excellent. Purified. Yes. All right.
I'm scared. You guys have given such, I would never even thought, this is so amazing. Okay. Well, for me, when I took a look at the class, I look at it as reflection, because you can see the bottom of the glass, and I look at it as a reminder to reflect on your day, reflect on your mistakes, reflect on your accomplishments as well, because you need those to encourage you, to keep moving forward. So,
All right. Yes.
Okay, y'all have helped me. I look at this, my doctor, I just went to the doctor last week, and he says, you've got to drink more water. You've got to drink your water, this certain amount every day. And so when I look at this, I immediately think of myself. He wants me to flush out the toxins. Right?
Yes.
So I look at that, but then when she mentioned that was, or somebody mentioned that was a piece of ice, the ice has melted to me, so it's just a simple glass of water, so I can identify I'm just a simple person, but it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's not lukewarm water, and it's not freezing cold, super icy, chilled water. It's just simple. It's balanced, and so my life, I'm trying to keep balance in my
I can tell you, I am just blessed, because most of the time people will say that the glass is half full instead of half empty. But whenever I looked at this glass, I said, I want us to begin to say what else we see. Because in everything of what you shared, when each of you were saying what you actually see, we grabbed a different revelation. But they all circle back around and they connect, they touch. And I want to highlight how important our sense of touch is. Because in each of the examples that were provided, I was touched by each scenario, which goes to show we're really in tune, and we're also looking at life positive. And there are so many things. I'm sure if we just talked about what's all going wrong, we can talk about what's on the news, we can talk about what happened today, we can talk about what we heard someone else say, we can talk about what we saw on Facebook. We see everything on Facebook, and we can so easily pull something that's negative and where it could become such a topic of discussion. But I want us to continue to talk more about just what we just saw, what could build, what could help us grow, what we can pass on to someone else. Imagine we have 2 teenagers here. they gave two powerful examples of their own. But seed was planted in them and everything else of what they heard and what was shared. So we want to make sure that whenever we walk out of these doors, that when it seems like everything is going wrong, that we could find something good. And that helps us to more effectively utilize our senses. A lot of times we can easily become a product of our environment. So that's where we want to make sure, who are we on the phone with? Who are we hanging with? Who are we associating ourselves with? And again, when you're a part of an organization, if I was to go out there and if I'm arguing with someone in the streets, and then you see me on Facebook and I have on my L.E.A.P shirt, and I'm smiling, we're all in a group picture. And I'm not saying that we're perfect, don't get me wrong.
Right, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, whenever you're affiliated with an organization, it does come with some scrutiny. It comes with really, it's not just about you anymore. You really represent what you're saying before people. And I'm going to have to tell you, the word leap itself is a power word. It is a verb, but it also can be an adjective. So we have to make sure we understand that when we're saying that we are a member of L.E.A.P, that means we are going somewhere. That means it's from one level to the next level. It's from one accomplishment to the next accomplishment. I'm not saying that it all has to happen overnight,
Right.
but it should be progress. And that's what it should represent. So we want to make sure that we're branding ourselves and that we are representing ourselves as an individual, but also as an organization.
Can I share something really quick?
Sure.
I was just on the call, and what you're saying is like, it fits right in line with it. Did a call the other day. Two ladies, I'm not even sure where they're from, they did a call about, publishing and writing books. And one key thing she said was that all of us have a brand, and we don't even know it.
Yes.
So basically, if I see you, Pam James, what do I know you? What do I know about you? If someone asks me about you, what would I say? I'm like, oh, that's Miss Ladies Night Out, that's Miss Peak and Black, you know what I'm saying? That's Miss Mary Kay. She always smiling, she's very sweet, you know what I'm saying? So basically, you branded yourself. And so basically they said, what is our brand? What is even our personal brand outside of business? If someone see you, oh, that's that girl that posts all the spice on Facebook. That's that girl, she doesn't speak, she doesn't, she always looks down. What is your brand saying? What is it about you that people are seeing?
Yes.
So, it's in line with what you're saying. So
Absolutely. It's right on target. It's so important. And the way people see us as an individual, it could really help or it could hinder.
That's right.
Because there are some people that from association, they won't participate in certain things that's going on in the community. It's sad, but it's reality.
Right.
Some of it you can control and some of it you can't. Some people you just won't be able to please anyway. So those people we're not even worried about. We just push those people to the side and we'll just pray for them. But for the most part, when you have done your very best to really, like you said, your personal brand, that you have really and truly done your best to project who you really are, and you're hoping that people will receive it just the way that you are giving it, but you absolutely can't worry about anyone that does not accept it, because there are a lot of people with low self-esteem. So if it looks like you have it all together,
Exactly.
they don't want any parts of it anyway. And then for some people, they really can't believe that it's all just that good anyway. But again, it goes back to self-esteem. And that's where, even in utilizing our senses, self-esteem plays a big factor. If you have good, strong self-esteem, you'll be able to give good eye contact. If you have good self-esteem, you'll feel confident in whatever it is that you want to say. And as you're talking and interacting with people, you'll feel good about it. And if it's an area that you struggle with, that's okay. The first thing is admitting it. And then once you realize that you may have some insecurities about yourself, then you find things to help build yourself. And it starts with you talking to yourself. I wasn't always as confident. I never thought that I would find myself talking before people the way that I do. But I realized that it wasn't just me. You know, of course, there are things in me that I've always wanted to share with women, but it absolutely wasn't something I just said, Pam is gonna go and start ladies' night out. No, I don't know. Like, what? This is what I'm gonna be doing? But now I see that that's a brand and a purpose. It may not be at a microphone for your brand, but whatever you do for your brand, do it 110%. It's okay to be in the background. We need people that's in the background helping with the organization, helping us putting things together. We don't always have to be that face that everyone sees. And we have to also find that balance and allow others to have that opportunity, to have that face opportunity, and where it's not just one or two people that's going out and doing and leading. We really have to know when we're going to be a supporter and when we're going to lead, and we should be okay with it. We shouldn't feel like, oh, I thought I should have led that. Oh, that one wasn't for you, but go and be the best supporter that you can be. So in summary, once we understand the importance of effectively using our 5 senses, we are now ready to leap forward, to empower women and make a positive impact in the community. So at this time, I would like for each of us to stand up. Let's stand up. So I want us to show signs that we totally, we've understood, we've reiterated what our senses are. We talked about how we can effectively use them. We've talked about how individually we are a brand, how collectively we are a brand. And we also understand that through this organization that we want to go forward. We want to be known in the community. We want to get out, especially around the home society with the children, the Children's Home Society. That's so critical. That is so critical. We have children that could tell stories that we'll probably never be able to tell. But just us going volunteering, just going putting in time. We hear a lot of stories and things of what happened to get children into the Children's Home Society. We hear about what happened when they're in the facility. We hear about what happens whenever they go with foster parents. We hear. So we have to understand that a lot of what we do could really impact, and just one thing that we say or just something that we do could be something that these children have never experienced. They feel possibly a lot of neglect, a lot of loneliness, a lot of guilt. A lot of times they blame themselves. So what we are doing is so important. So I want us to really represent L.E.A.P. And I'm going to turn this way as well. And if you really feel that you really understand all of what was shared on today, I want us to show the sign and we're going to walk forward. So if you want to leap and actually hop, leap forward. Or if you want to walk, or if you want to do a symbol and then go forward, however you want to do it, I want us just to take a couple of seconds and just think about really what can I do as an individual? How can I really impact this community, and how can I truly impact every individual that I come in contact with? And sometimes it may not be saying anything, it may just be being there. And that's okay. Sometimes you don't have to say a thing, and that's another thing I've had to learn. Sometimes when people want to talk to me, they don't want me to respond. They want me just to listen. Just listen. So that is a part of our senses, knowing when to listen and not when to speak. All right, so let's think about it a little bit here. And we're gonna get ready to step forward. You ready, ladies?
Ready?
Yes. All right, let's go forward. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. And there's one last thing I want to leave with you. This is one of my favorite quotes. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. That is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That is so near and dear to me because it's the challenges and the controversy. During those times, we can really make our greatest impact. We really can. So I want to encourage each of you that as we just leaped forward, do not allow challenges, controversy, or distractions to get us off course, because there's so much for us to do. There are so many people that we can touch in some type of way, and it may not always be people we know. In what I'm doing, in most cases, it's the unfamiliar. It's people that this is my first time meeting them, but it was the right people who needed to make that connection with me. So I want to encourage each of you that no matter where life finds you, find the good in it. Take the lessons and move forward. Leap forward. Don't allow anything to make you stop or to go backwards. All right? And that's my time. I'm